I'm going to predict that every one of us in this building, including me, at some point in time in our life, has said something to this effect. If I would have only known what Starbucks would be worth today, I would have bought that stock the day it opened. And you can replace Starbucks with Amazon, Google, General Motors, Apple Computer, IBM, any of the billion-dollar businesses that are out there. But what if we could predict the next billion-dollar business? My belief is that it's not as hard as people might think. Because in order to predict what's coming next, all you have to do is identify a trend. A trend is nothing more than a collection of data from the past carried into the future. And if you look at the trends of where we've invested our money and how we've placed value on business, it becomes very clear because we have always invested our money into businesses that revolve around the age that we exist in. And I don't mean our chronological age, I mean our societal age, our cultural age. For example, in the mid to late 1800s, during the agricultural age, if you were a small business owner, you would have been smart to build shovels, plowshares, breed oxen, grow corn, milk cows. If you were in the business of ag, you could predict that you would have a pretty successful business. In fact, it was so popular that everybody got into ag. In fact, so many people got into ag that eventually, by the early 1900s, the supply outweighed the demand. And the system imploded on itself, and we had a revolution called the Industrial Revolution. Now, in the Industrial Revolution, that led to a brand new age called the Manufacturing Age. Now, in the Manufacturing Age, we no longer valued agriculture. And the people that had agricultural businesses, they either did one of two things. They either pivoted or perished. And the ones that perished were the ones sitting here over going, don't forget the American farmer. We're the lifeblood of America. Preserve the American farmer. And we were in the manufacturing age and said, yeah, we really don't care. We no longer cared about having freshly delivered milk to our doorstep. We were happy to go to a retail manufacturing facility called a grocery store and just pick up the milk because it was cheaper and quicker and easier. But the agricultural businesses that pivoted, they treated their business like a manufacturing facility. They put the cows into pens, hook them up to milking machines. They traded in their plowshares for combines. And they treated their agriculture like a manufacturing facility. And they did really well in the manufacturing age. Now, in the manufacturing age, we valued that so much so that that's where we put all of our money. In fact, cities were built around manufacturing, like Detroit and Pittsburgh. And so many people got into manufacturing that eventually we had more supply than we did demand. By 1950, 1955, the system could no longer sustain itself, and we had another revolution called the computer revolution. And in the computer revolution, we created a brand new age. And that age was the information age, born in 1969. Now, in the information age, we stopped valuing manufacturing, and there were two types of manufacturing facilities, those that pivoted and those that perished. The ones that perished were the ones that said, don't forget about made in the USA. Made in the USA is where it's important. Don't forget the lifeblood of America. It's made in the USA. And in the information age, we looked at our Excel spreadsheets and we said, well, according to the information, no, it's not important. Taiwan. That's the better place to build. Now, the manufacturing facilities that started to manufacture based upon information and data, statistical process control, ISO 9000 certifications, they looked at data and they managed through data, they did well. But if they didn't, they perished. Now, in the information age, by the way, we value information more than we value manufacturing, way more than we value agriculture. In the information age, if you know something I don't know, I'll pay you for that. Businesses were built around information. Remember Encyclopedia Britannica? For the university students in the room, Encyclopedia Britannica is kind of like Google, but it's on paper. And there's only a software upgrade once a year, and that's only if your parents are rich. Otherwise, you just keep using the same operating system until you graduate high school. But that company's no longer around because it was an information-based business. But it did really well in the information age because we based things and we paid for things based upon information. By the way, this became so popular that everybody got into information-based businesses until around 2007, and the supply outweighed the demand, and there was another revolution called the Entrepreneur's Revolution. And that created a brand new age, and that's the one we're in right now, and we're seeing it being born right before our very eyes. Now, it hasn't been labeled yet. It hasn't been titled, but I'll call it the collaboration age. Mainly because I wrote a book called Collaboration Economy, so if that title sticks, I'm going to seem very prophetic. So I'm hoping that that title sticks. But we call it sometimes the we economy, the sharing age. I don't care what you call it, but it's the energy that's there that's important. Because in the collaboration age, we no longer value information. And guess what? We're seeing right now businesses either pivot or perish depending upon how they interpret it. The best example is the taxi cab industry, an information-based transportation system, because the cabbies understand the shortest route from point A to point B. They also know the longest route from point A to point B, and so they can take it that way and rip you off. But either way, the intended outcome is the same. They get you from point A to point B because you don't know how to get there yourself. And what are they doing now? Because now we have collaboration-based transportation systems like Uber and Lyft and all the other ride-sharing programs. And the cab industry is going, don't forget about the cab industry. We've worked so hard to memorize the streets and do all this. It's very important. You can't use those companies. And in the collaboration stage, we go, we don't care about you, dude. We got a smartphone. That smartphone took your place. Because now in collaboration-based transportation, we don't evaluate the success of that business based upon getting from point A to point B. We evaluate it based upon the experience. We rate them on the cleanliness of the car. Did they offer me a mint? Did they give me a bottle of water? Was the conversation good? Did they let me play my style of music? That's a 5-star. I'll give them a tip. I'll give them a little diamond, right? And all of a sudden, we're valuing something differently than just the actual transportation. We're valuing the collaborative effort between passenger and driver to get from point A to point B. And as long as the cab industry continues to complain, they will perish. But when information-based businesses see this and they realize that no longer their value is information, but it's collaboration, this is when they can succeed, because we are full on into the collaboration age. How long will that last? Almost every age lasts about 40 years. Now, the fun discussion is to talk about what comes after the collaboration age. My belief, by the way, is that because of Moore's Law and technology developing or doubling every 18 years, I don't think this age is going to last as long. I'm going to guess 30 to 35 years. But somewhere around 2040, 2045, collaboration will no longer be valuable. There will be too many people involved. The system won't sustain itself because supply will be greater than demand, and we'll have a brand new revolution, and that will be the spiritual revolution. And the spiritual revolution will create a whole new age, which I'll call the altruistic age. And in the altruistic age, we're going to value something completely different than collaboration. What that is enlightenment. You see, we can predict this because every one of these businesses answers a basic question. In the agricultural age, the question being asked was where? Where do we plant our crops? Because if you wanted to have a farm in Phoenix, you were a fool. You were very careful to know where that farm should be. But in the manufacturing age, we didn't care about where. You could have a manufacturing plant in Illinois or Phoenix, and it didn't matter. We cared about how. How do you build it faster, better, quicker, cheaper? And in the information age, we no longer cared about how. We cared about what. What do you know that I don't know? And in the collaboration age, we're running out of questions. The question here is who? Who are you? Don't we do business now based upon who people are? As business owners, we hire people based upon who they are. We get the resume, we throw it away, we go to Facebook, we search their name, we look at their personality, we look at their lifestyle. We want to find out who they are. If you don't believe me, look at the stats. The majority of people who have a college degree have a job in something completely unrelated to their college degree. Because in the collaboration age, we no longer care about what you learned in school. We care about who you became. In the collaboration age, it's very exciting. We can never before in history have we ever been able to connect with like-minded people as efficiently and easily as we can. I'll give you a great example of this. 50 years ago, if you were a transgendered person, you were just confused. You didn't know why your identity inside didn't match the organs on the outside, and you had to struggle and go through life, and if you were lucky enough not to kill yourself, you'd still be confused. But nowadays, a transgendered teen in Seattle can find a transgendered teen going through the same problem in Tampa, Florida, and they can connect and they can go through that journey together and not feel isolated, not feel alone, and that's a good thing. But you see, the brighter the light, the darker the shadow. Because it's never been easier for racists to find racists, for terrorists to find terrorists, xenophobes to find xenophobes. And that dark side of the collaboration is what will eventually collapse it, and we'll have to ask better questions, because in the altruistic age, we're not going to ask who you are. We're going to ask why you are. Why do we have racism? Why do we have terrorism? Why do we have sexism? Why do we have any ism? What happens after the altruistic age? 2080, 2085, 2090. We've run out of questions. We've already answered who, where, what, where, how, what, who, and why. We're out of questions. Some people think when, but when carries through all of them. When is always now. Show me an entrepreneur that asks when they should start a business. I'll show you a failed entrepreneur. It's always now. So what are we going to do? After the altruistic age, we're going to loop back around. And we're going to ask ourselves where again. But instead of asking where do we plant our crops, we're going to ask ourselves where do we colonize? Do we go to Mars? Do we go to Titan? Have we entered wormhole technology? That is where we're going to be in 2080. But right now, in the collaboration age, we need to be aware, we need to be wise, because here's the stats. 80% of all jobs in America right now are in the service-driven business. 30% of all of those jobs can be relegated into 4 main functions: seeing things, reading things, writing things, and integrating information. All 4 of which can be done by computers just as good as a human, and in some cases, better. It's never been more important in the history of humanity to focus on being a better person rather than a smarter one. Thank you.